Eli Turner came back from Normandy on a Monday morning in March of 1946 and spoke so little that people in Mill Creek began filling the silence for him. They said he had been brave. They said he had been wounded. They said he had watched too many good men die on a beach the color of wet ash and had left whatever was talkative in him somewhere across the Atlantic. Eli did not confirm any of it. He stepped off the bus with one duffel bag, a folded uniform jacket, and a limp that showed itself only when the weather turned. He was 34 years old, lean from army rations and long marches, with brown hair cut close and eyes that looked at every doorway before entering a room. His mother had died the year before. His father had been gone since 1938. The white farmhouse at the end of County Road 6 had waited for him with dust on the windowsills, a sagging porch rail, and a flag still folded in a cedar box because no one had known whether to hang it or mourn beneath it. Eli hung it the first morning. He did it before breakfast, before opening the mail, before sweeping out the kitchen. He fixed the bracket beside the porch post, unfolded the flag carefully, and raised it into the cold spring wind. Then he stood under it for a long while, not saluting, just standing. Across the road, from behind the curtain of the neighboring house, Anna Whitcomb watched him. She was 29, widowed for 11 months, and tired in the way a woman gets tired when grief is not the only thing asking to be carried. Her husband, Robert, had died in the Ardennes. The telegram had come while she was boiling potatoes. Their son, Caleb, had been 5 years old and had asked if the man at the door was selling something. Anna had answered no. That was the last simple answer she remembered giving. She did not mean to knock on Eli Turner's door that first week. She had no habit of asking men for help. Robert had left behind a small house, 6 acres, a cow named Pearl, a chicken coop, and debts that arrived more faithfully than kindness. Anna could mend a fence, balance an account, split kindling badly but successfully, and make a meal out of less than most people would admit to having. But on the 8th night after Eli came home, Pearl got into trouble calving. The rain had started before dark and turned the yard into black mud. Caleb stood in the barn doorway crying without sound, his small hands pressed together at his mouth. Anna worked for an hour, then another, until her arms shook and her hair had fallen loose from its pins. At last she took off her apron, crossed the road in the rain, and knocked on Eli Turner's door. He opened it quickly, too quickly, Anna noticed, as if some part of him still expected trouble to announce itself after dark. She stood on his porch, soaked through, breathing hard. "My cow is calving wrong," she said. "I wouldn't ask, but I can't turn the calf alone." Eli took his coat from the peg. He did not ask whose cow. He did not ask why she had waited. He only said, "Show me." They crossed the road without another word. In the barn, Eli removed his coat, rolled his sleeves, and knelt in the straw beside Pearl. His hands were steady. That was the first thing Anna noticed. Not gentle in a soft way. Gentle in a useful way. The kind of gentleness that knew panic wasted time. Caleb stood behind a post, watching. Eli saw him and said, "Hold the lantern high." The boy blinked. "Me? You've got hands." Caleb lifted the lantern. For the next 40 minutes, the barn held only rain on the roof, Pearl's strained breathing, Anna's quiet instructions, and Eli's low voice saying, "Easy now," though it was never clear whether he meant the cow, the calf, the boy, or himself. The calf came just after midnight. Small, wet, furious, alive. Caleb laughed once, startled by his own happiness. Anna sat back in the straw and pressed both hands over her face. She did not cry. Not exactly. She only bent under the weight of something that had almost become one more loss, and had not. When she looked up, Eli was cleaning his hands with a rag. "Thank you," she said. He nodded. Then he stood, put on his wet coat, and walked back across the road before she could offer coffee. The next morning, Anna found a stack of dry firewood beside her back door. There was no note. She looked across the road. Eli's flag moved in the pale light. That was how it began. Not with courting, not with conversation. With the calf alive in the barn and firewood left where a widow would find it before the morning chores began. Anna brought him bread 2 days later. She set it on his porch rail because he did not answer the first knock, though she knew he was inside. She had seen the curtain move. When she returned the following morning, the bread was gone and the empty tin was on her porch, washed clean. Inside it was a small paper packet of coffee. She stared at it for a long time. Coffee had become the sort of thing people pretended not to miss. At supper, Caleb asked. Is Mr. Turner mean? Anna poured milk into his glass. No. Is he sad? She looked through the kitchen window. Across the road, Eli was repairing his porch rail in the last of the daylight, each movement careful and exact. I think, she said, he is trying not to be. Caleb considered that with the seriousness of a child who had already learned too much. Pa was sad before he left. Anna's hand stilled. Robert had been many things. Warm, funny, impatient, brave in the easy ways and afraid in the private ones. She had loved him. She still did. But war had a way of turning men into photographs before they were gone. Yes, she said quietly. He was. Caleb nodded, as if confirming something he had not known how to ask. The days lengthened. Eli worked his land because work was a language that did not require explaining anything. He repaired the north fence, cleared the ditch, put fresh paint on the mailbox. Every morning, he raised the flag. Every evening, he brought it in before dark and folded it with a precision that made Caleb stop his bicycle at the edge of the road to watch. One evening, Eli noticed him. Come here, he said. Caleb came halfway, then stopped. Eli held the flag out. Never let it touch the ground. The boy took one corner, solemn at once. Eli showed him the first fold, then the second, the triangle forming slowly between their hands. Anna watched from her porch, one hand on the doorframe. When they were done, Caleb whispered, Did my pa fold one? Eli looked at the boy. If he served, he learned. He died before he could show me. The words landed quietly. Eli's face changed, but only around the eyes. Then I'll show you until your hands remember. After that, Caleb came every evening. Anna told herself it was harmless. A boy needed men around him. Eli needed something too, perhaps, though she did not name it. Naming a thing made it easier to lose. That quiet routine changed the space between the two houses. Would Anna keep telling herself it was harmless? Would Eli keep finding reasons to cross the road? And what would happen when the town started noticing that this silent man was no longer quite so alone? If this story is moving you, hit the like button, subscribe so we can keep telling these stories together, and tell me in the comments which city in the USA you're listening from today. By May, Eli was speaking in sentences. Not many. Enough. He told Caleb how to oil a hinge, how to drive a nail without bending it, how to listen for rain and wind, how to sharpen a pocket knife safely. He told Anna which part of her west fence would not last another storm and fixed it the next day without asking permission. She came out with lemonade and found him setting the last post. You know, she said, some people ask before they rebuild a woman's fence. Eli set the hammer down. Some fences fall before permission catches up. Anna looked at him. Then she laughed. It surprised both of them. The sound went across the field, light and brief, and something in Eli's face moved toward it before he could stop himself. That night, he sat at his kitchen table longer than usual. The house was still mostly bare. His mother's Bible on the shelf. His father's old pipe in a drawer. Army boots by the door. A framed photograph of 12 men in uniform standing beside a truck in England. All of them young enough to believe the camera had caught them before life truly started. Only 4 of them had come home. Eli looked at the photograph until the faces blurred. Then he turned the frame toward the wall and went to bed. The trouble came through a man named Leonard Pike. Pike owned the feed store, 2 rental houses, and enough mortgages to feel taller than he was. Robert Whitcomb had borrowed from him before shipping out, intending to pay it down with army wages. Then Robert died, and the payments became Anna's problem. Pike arrived on a hot afternoon in June wearing a straw hat and a smile that had been practiced in front of better people. Anna met him on the porch. Eli was across the road under his truck, replacing a line, near enough to hear voices, but not words. Pike held a folder against his chest. Mrs. Whitcomb, I've been patient. You've been paid every month. Interest changes the shape of things. So does honesty. His smile thinned. You're alone out here. Land takes a man's hand. No shame in admitting what can't be managed. Anna stood straighter. It is being managed. Pike glanced toward Eli's place. So I hear. The insult was soft. That made it worse. Anna's face went still. You can leave now, Mr. Pike. He took a paper from the folder. I can begin proceedings by the 15th. Or you can sell the South Acres to me and settle the debt cleanly. The South Acres are half my pasture. And yet they are all you have that I want. Behind Anna, Caleb appeared in the doorway. Pike saw him and lowered his voice into something almost kind. Your husband was a good man. It would be a pity to watch his family lose everything, because pride got dressed up as courage. Eli was already crossing the road. He did not hurry. He did not need to. Pike turned when Eli reached the steps. "Mr. Turner," he said, "this is private business." Eli looked at the paper in Pike's hand. "Then conduct it privately. Not in front of her boy." Pike's jaw tightened. "No offense, but Normandy doesn't make you a lawyer." "No," Eli said. "It taught me to recognize a man advancing on ground that isn't his." The porch went quiet. Anna looked at Eli, then away. Pike gave a short laugh. "You planning to fight everybody's battles now, Turner?" Eli's voice stayed level. "I fought mine. Her husband fought his. You'll not use his absence as leverage." For the first time, Pike looked uncertain, not afraid of violence. Eli had made no threat. It was something else. The discomfort of a man who had expected loneliness and found a witness. Anna reached for the paper. Pike hesitated, then handed it over. She read the first page, then the second. Her eyes narrowed. "This includes a late fee from February. You were late." "No," she said. "The post office was closed 3 days for the ice storm. I have the receipt." Pike's face changed. "Only a little." "Enough." Anna lifted her chin. "I'll bring the receipts to Judge Hanley tomorrow." Eli looked at Pike. "You heard her." Pike put the folder under his arm. "This isn't over." Anna folded the paper carefully. "It may be less over for you than for me." Pike left in a cloud of dust. Caleb stood in the doorway, eyes wide. Eli turned to go, but Anna said his name. He stopped. "Thank you," she said. He looked toward the road. "You didn't need saving." "No," she said. "But I needed someone to stand there." He nodded once, and that was all. The receipts did what truth often does when given paper to stand on. Pike had overcharged 3 widows, 2 farmers, and 1 mother whose son was still stationed in Germany. By July, Judge Hanley had ordered the accounts reviewed. By August, Pike's smile had become less common in Mill Creek. People began looking at Anna differently. Not with pity, with respect. They began looking at Eli differently too. Not as a ghost returned from war, but as a man who still knew where to stand. On the 4th of July, the town held a picnic behind the church. There were pies cooling under cloth, children running with paper flags, veterans from both wars sitting in folding chairs under the maple trees, saying little and understanding much. Eli had not planned to go. Anna knocked on his door at noon. She wore a blue dress with white buttons and held Caleb's hand. The boy wore a shirt that had been ironed flat enough to make him uncomfortable. "We saved you a place," she said. Eli looked past her toward the road, where the town could already be heard in fragments. Laughter, a fiddle, a truck backfiring. Life, careless and loud and continuing. "I'm not much for crowds," he said. "I know." She did not move. Caleb held up a small folded flag. "You said I should practice in wind." Eli looked at the boy, then at Anna. He took his hat from the peg. At the picnic, no one asked Eli about the beach. That was Anna's doing. She had spoken quietly to Mrs. Hanley, who had spoken to everyone else in the efficient way church women move mercy through a town. So people asked him about corn prices, fence posts, whether the county road would wash out again. Ordinary things. Less things. Near dusk, the veterans were asked to stand while the flag was raised. Eli stood because the old men stood, and because 2 boys in uniform from the last were struggled to their feet with hands on chair backs, and because some honors are not about wanting to be seen. The flag rose against the pink evening sky. Caleb stood beside him, his small hand wrapped around Eli's fingers without asking. Eli did not pull away. Anna saw it. So did half the town. When the singing began, Eli's mouth remained closed at first. Then, quietly, almost roughly, he joined in. Not loud, not for display, but the words were there. Anna lowered her eyes, and tears slipped down before she could stop them. Afterward, when the fireworks began beyond the fairground, Eli stepped away from the crowd. The first crack had gone through him like a thrown stone. He made it as far as the side of the church before he stopped, one hand against the wall. Anna found him there. She did not touch him. She only stood beside him, facing the same dark field. "Robert used to hate thunderstorms after basic training," she said. Eli breathed once. Then again. "I lost 6 men before we cleared the shingle." "I know." He turned his head. She looked at him. "Not the details," she said. "But I know what it is when someone comes home and part of him is still answering to a terrible place." The fireworks continued, softer now with distance. Eli's hand lowered from the wall. "I don't know how to be back," he said. Anna nodded. Then be back badly for a while. That almost broke him. Not the fireworks. Not the memories. That. The permission to return imperfectly. He looked at her in the dark beside the church. This widow who had kept a farm, a child, a debt, a grief, and still found room to knock on his door in the rain. I look for your lamp at night, he said. Anna held very still. He swallowed. When it's lit, I sleep easier. She looked toward the field, where Caleb was laughing with two other boys, his face bright under the sparks falling harmlessly in the sky. I look for your flag in the morning, she said. Eli closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, something had settled. Not healed. Not finished. Settled. By autumn, no one in Mill Creek spoke of Eli Turner as silent anymore. Quiet, yes. A quiet man. There was honor in that. He repaired the church steps, helped Judge Hanley catalog Pike's accounts, and taught Caleb to fold the flag so well the boy could do it in a stiff wind without letting one corner drop. Anna did not become less capable because Eli was there. That mattered to both of them. She still ran her house, kept her books, argued prices at the feed store, and mended Caleb's knees when he tore through his trousers. Eli did not take over her life. He stood beside it. There is a difference, and widows know it. The following March, 1 year after Eli came home, Anna knocked on his door again. This time there was no rain, no emergency, no cow in trouble. She stood on his porch in the mild evening with her hands folded at her waist. Eli opened the door and looked at her. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Anna said, Caleb asked whether you would be coming to supper tomorrow. Eli's eyes moved over her face. And what did you say? I said I hoped so. The wind moved over the fields. Across the road, Pearl lowed from the barn as if adding her opinion. Eli stepped onto the porch. I've been waiting for a reason to ask if I could. Anna smiled then, not sadly, not politely, but fully. You never needed a reason. He looked down, and when he looked back up, the man who had come home from Normandy with silence in his bones was still there. He would always be there, but he was no longer alone in the doorway. The next evening, Eli came to supper with flowers cut from his mother's old garden and a repaired hinge for Anna's pantry door in his coat pocket. Caleb opened the door and said, You're late. Eli checked his watch. By 2 minutes. Pa said being early was respectful. Eli looked at Anna, then back at the boy. Your pa was right. They ate roast chicken, potatoes, and biscuits that were too brown on the bottom. Caleb talked through most of the meal. Anna laughed twice. Eli spoke when he had something worth saying. After supper, they walked outside. The sunset was lowering behind the fields, laying gold along the fence wire. Eli raised the flag at his house that morning and had not yet brought it in. Caleb ran ahead to help. Anna and Eli stood at the edge of the road, watching the boy reach for the cloth with practiced hands. He loves you, Anna said. Eli's throat worked. I love him. She nodded, as if she had known and had only been waiting for him to catch up to the truth. Then Eli reached for her hand. Slowly, giving her every chance not to take it. She took it. Across the road, Caleb folded the flag exactly as he had been taught. Corner to corner, edge to edge, a triangle of red, white, and blue held carefully against his chest. And for the first time since Normandy, Eli Turner looked at the road between his house and Anna's and did not see distance. He saw the path home.